Welcome back. Well, now we're going to talk about planning from an operations perspective. And although it is an operations perspective of your business, we're going to first start by continuing a little bit more research. The research that you've done on your customers is really important, but what is critical to understand in your business is who are all the stakeholders in my business? And for some of you, that may be a new term. But I would say that for a lot of you, you've heard this term before. And we want to understand, so who are the people that are affected or affect my business? And those are the stakeholders. So your customers are definitely a stakeholder. Now remember, when you sell a product, you may sell it to, let's say, a parent. And they are one of your stakeholders. But who's the actual end user of that product? Well, that could be their children. So their children are a stakeholder as well. All of the people that supply bits and pieces or parts of your product for you to make your product, those are stakeholders. Or the people that are manufacturing a product that you're reselling, they're a stakeholder as well. The people that affect your business, so your employees or the people that you work with, and you may not start with any employees, it may just be you, and you have to perform a whole bunch of different functions, but you need to know what each of those functions are and how you're going to act when you're performing that function, or how the person that you're going to get to do that function is going to act, and how are they going to engage with your customers who are a stakeholder. Your stakeholders include government, they include your banking, they include any of the vendors that you have or services that you have, and anybody that's helping you provide the service that you're providing. So remember that it's important to understand who those are and how they affect your business, because that could be significant in what you're doing. Now, once you've done that research and you've identified who those stakeholders are and how they impact you or you impact them, you then look at it and say, okay, so if I'm going to provide this service, I need to understand, what is it going to cost me to start this business? What are all the things that I need to look for in the context of saying, so what do I need to buy before I can sell the first item? What are the things that I need to have? What's the expenditures that I'm going to have? And those may come in the form of actual cash where you spend your money, but they may also be in the form of a line of credit that you get from a bank or things like that as well. And that's fine, but you need to understand what it costs to start your business. Now, when you start your business, you want to make sure you also have a contingency fund. And that contingency is to say, if I started my business and for the first 3 months of running it, I didn't make a single cent of revenue, but I needed that runway to get it going, to get awareness out there, to get people to start interacting with me, then your contingency needs to include all the costs that you're going to need to run that business for the first 3 months and the month after that, so that you know that once you start supplying and revenues coming in the door, your contingency fund is going to be less utilized, but you've got the money to continue going. You don't just suddenly peter out. So if you don't have the resources as a person on your own, you may need to go to others to get those resources, whether that be a bank where you take a loan or a line of credit, or other business partners that are going to come into it. But remember, in planning that, you need to understand how they are going to participate in your business. If there are shareholders, are they silent shareholders? Do they actually work in the business? How do they work in the business? What do they contribute? What do they bring to the table besides their cash contribution or their source of cash contribution? So it's really important that you understand that from a planning perspective. When you're looking at each job, as I said, you may be it. Hey, I'm a sole proprietor. It is me. I do all the functions. It's still important for you to define what each of the functions are and write a description of what happens during those functions. How do you act? What do you do? What do you expect? What do your customers expect? How should you respond? So that's really important for you to do. And what can help you with that when it's just you alone is do a really good FAQ. In other words, frequently asked questions. Do a really good one so that people get most of their answers without actually having to speak to you, so that you can focus on revenue driving and revenue producing activities all the time. Now, when you are looking at spending money, you also want to look at how do you get money into your business. Well, how are you going to receive payments from your customers? Are you going to just take cash? Are you going to only accept checks and cash? Are you going to allow online payments? Are you going to allow credit card payments? Because you need to make provision for all of those things as to how you get paid and when you get paid. One thing I will tell you is that the best business is a cash business. Not meaning that you only accept cash, meaning that when someone gets your product, they've already paid for it, or they pay for it at the time they receive it, or that you ship it. That way, you're not managing other people's expectations and accounts receivable. So if you can get to a point where your business is, it's cash in the door, product out the door, that is the best way for you to go, because you really don't want to get into giving people terms, because then you need additional resources to help manage those receivables as well as getting them from them at the time that they're supposed to pay for them. Because believe me, just like you, they're managing their cash flow and they will string you out as far as they possibly can. So make sure you understand how you're going to accept payments in the business. And let's have a look at what else there is. Now, when you're accepting payments and people start to produce revenue and you start to produce revenue, you want to make sure that you manage your growth. So you want to have properly planned what growth you're going to anticipate. What happens if it's quicker than you anticipate? Is it going to be that you suddenly have to bring more resources in? You need help. Well, you need to plan for that. You need to identify where you're going to get those resources. So it's really important that you do look at that. You want to understand the laws that you operate with in your business. So if you're a retail business, what are the local laws and government laws that you need to abide by? Do you have to pay and collect sales tax? When do you need to do that? What are the taxes that you need to do? When do you need to file your returns? What are the things you can say or that you can't say? What are the safety requirements of your particular product? What are the quality requirements of your particular product? What you know about the law is really important, specifically in how it pertains to your business. The next step in your planning is, so how do I get this out there? And you're going to develop, we're going to look at this in detail a little later, but the next thing in your planning section is going to be, how am I going to market my business? I'm going to market the brand that is the business, as well as the products that are in the business. You can't just suddenly decide, I'm going to put it on the web and everybody's going to know about it. Nope. Remember, we had to do that customer research. So how do you reach those customers? So you need a marketing plan to figure out how you reach them. What's the best way to reach them? How do you get as many eyes on your business and your product as possible? And that's going to take a plan. Now, where you can and where you have the resources, remember to delegate certain tasks and things. And it may be somebody internal, and if you can't afford somebody internal, it may be to a third party, where you actually pay somebody to do something for you, because that's their specialty. They're going to do it better than you can, and it's worth your investment. But again, you need to do the research and plan for it and understand that. Remember, from start to finish, keep a record of every single thing you do in your business. Now, records are not just from a legal perspective, an accounting perspective. You have to have it for those reasons. But they're also for you to understand what works and what doesn't work. It's also for you to understand, okay, if this worked here, can we test it and see if it works in another area? So that's really important for you to keep records, to understand not just, as I said, the legal and accounting perspectives, but how you market, how you communicate, and how you advertise your business. And we will get into those sections a little later as well. So we are now at a point where, sorry, this was a lot of information very quickly. You do have your notes to refer to, so remember that. But it is really important that you plan and understand that in that planning, that is going to enable you to be very effective and very efficient in how you manage your business. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next segment. Thank you.